your phone rang at 3:00 a.m. and the caller ID showed your own number. And when you answer, the only sound you hear is your own breathing. Title: Calls from My Own Number. Jacob Reed was a man of routine. Wake up at 6:30, coffee by 6:45, work at 8, home by 5:30. His apartment in a quiet Chicago suburb was his sanctuary, organized, spotless, and utterly predictable. But on a cold Wednesday morning in October, that sense of order shattered. The first call came at exactly 3 a.m. The ringtone startled Jacob awake. Groggy and annoyed, he grabbed the phone from his nightstand. His heart stuttered when he saw the screen. Incoming call. Jacob Reed Mobile. What the? He muttered. He stared at the screen, waiting for it to disappear. Must be a glitch, he thought. A spoofed number, maybe. But curiosity, or something deeper, pushed his thumb to the green button. Hello? No answer. Then he heard it. Breathing. Shaky, shallow, but familiar. It was his breathing. Hello? He repeated, voice sharp now. Who is this? The breathing grew louder for a moment, then abruptly cut off. The call ended. Jacob sat in silence, the phone still pressed to his ear. The room was quiet except for the low hum of his refrigerator in the kitchen. He checked the call log. AM, incoming. Jacob Reed. He opened his contacts. There it was. His own number, listed plainly. Same digits, same name. He turned the phone off and set it aside, trying to reason with himself. It's a prank. Hacker, maybe. Someone messing with caller ID. But sleep wouldn't come easy. He lay awake until morning light crept through his blinds. The next day, Jacob went about his usual routine, but something gnawed at him. At work, he found himself checking his phone constantly. No missed calls, no messages. He considered telling someone, his friend Marcus maybe. But what would he say? Hey, I think I got a call from myself last night, and it sounded like me breathing. He let it go. One strange call. That's it. But the next night the phone rang again. AM, same number, his own. His hand trembled as he answered. Hello? Again, nothing but breathing. He focused this time. The rhythm, the pace. It mirrored his exactly. He held the phone away and breathed in deeply through his nose, out through his mouth. The sound matched. It was like someone or something was listening to him, mimicking him. He ended the call and jumped out of bed. Turning on every light in the apartment, he searched every room. Closet, kitchen, bathroom, under the bed. Nothing. He barely slept. By the third night, Jacob was on edge. He avoided caffeine, hoping he could sleep through the night. He even put his phone in the kitchen drawer and turned the volume down, but his eyes popped open at exactly 3 a.m., like an internal alarm had gone off. He didn't want to check the phone. He did anyway. One missed call. AM, missed call. Jacob Reed. That was enough. The next morning, he brought the phone to Marcus. You got a call from yourself? Marcus asked, squinting at the log. Dude, are you sure this isn't just some scammer spoofing your number? I thought so too, Jacob said. But it's not just the number. When I pick up, it's like I'm on both ends of the call. Marcus raised an eyebrow. You're saying you hear yourself? I hear myself breathing, like a mirror version of me. I can't explain it. Man, maybe you're just stressed out. Take a break from tech. Go analog for a bit." Jacob agreed. That night, he turned his phone off completely and left it on the kitchen table. But at 3 a.m., something else woke him. A whisper, not from the phone, from the hallway. Faint, but unmistakable. Jacob. He sat up, heart racing. Had someone broken in? He reached under his bed for the baseball bat he kept there. The apartment was quiet. No creaking floorboards, no movement. Still, the whisper echoed in his head. He turned the phone back on. The screen flashed to life. New voicemail. One. His stomach dropped. He hadn't even had the phone on. Hands trembling, he opened the message. At first, just static, then breathing, then, "I'm waiting." The voice was his own, but it was colder, deeper, wrong. Jacob dropped the phone. Jacob didn't sleep for the rest of the night. He sat on the couch with every light in the apartment turned on, the voicemail playing in his mind on a loop. "I'm waiting." His own voice, but distorted, like it had been recorded in a cold, dark place. By morning, he looked like someone who hadn't rested in weeks. Sunken eyes, pale skin, twitchy fingers that couldn't stop fidgeting. He called in sick to work, unsure how to explain what he was dealing with. Phone trouble didn't quite capture it. Instead, he went to the phone store. The technician behind the counter was a calm, confident man named Alex, maybe in his 30s. He took Jacob's phone and ran diagnostics. "No malware, no cloning, and your SIM card secure," Alex said, tapping through the screen. "Everything looks normal." Jacob swallowed. Can someone spoof a number without using external apps or internet? Alex shrugged. "Technically, yes, but if they left a voicemail using your voice, that's not spoofing. That's personal. Could be a deep fake, but I doubt someone would go that far just to mess with you." Jacob leaned in. "Can a call come through, even if the phone is turned off?" Alex paused. "No, that's not possible. If your phone is off, it can't receive anything. No missed calls, no voicemails. It would go straight to voicemail box on your carrier's server, but it wouldn't record something new while the phone's powered down." Jacob didn't know what to say. He left the store with more questions than answers. That evening, Jacob made a decision. No phone in the bedroom. He left it in the kitchen, face down, and took a sleeping pill before climbing into bed. He didn't want to wake up at 3 a.m. again, but it didn't matter. He woke anyway, 3 a.m. sharp, except this time, it wasn't the ringtone. It was the mirror. Quiet click, like glass shifting. Jacob sat up and looked toward the bathroom. The door was half open, and he could see the edge of the mirror above the sink. Something had moved in there. He was sure of it. Cautiously, he got out of bed and walked toward the bathroom. The tile floor was cold beneath his feet. The apartment was dead silent, except for his own breathing. He stared at his reflection. Nothing seemed unusual. Same messy hair, same tired eyes. But then the lights flickered. Once, twice. And in that brief stuttering of light, his reflection smiled. But he didn't. He stumbled back, heart hammering. The reflection returned to normal. No smile. Just his own terrified face. "This isn't happening," he whispered, backing away and shutting the bathroom door. By morning, he was a wreck. He needed help, someone to believe him. So he called Marcus and asked him to come over. Marcus arrived later that afternoon, holding 2 coffees and a concerned expression. "You look terrible, man." "I know," Jacob said, taking the cup. "I'm not sleeping. It's not just the phone calls anymore. I think something's watching me." Marcus sat on the couch, listening patiently as Jacob recounted everything. Every 3 a.m. call, the breathing, the voicemail, the mirror. When Jacob finished, Marcus sat quietly for a long moment. "Okay," he said finally. "Let's prove it." Jacob blinked. "What do you mean?" "We stay up tonight. Together. I'll be here. If the phone rings, we'll both hear it. If something moves in the mirror, I'll see it too. You need confirmation this isn't just stress." Jacob hesitated. "You think I'm imagining it?" "I think something weird's happening," Marcus replied. "But let's face it together." Jacob agreed. He didn't want to be alone tonight anyway. That night, they stayed up watching TV, drinking coffee and trying to laugh about old college stories. Every glance at the clock made Jacob's stomach tighten. 50 a.m., 2:57, 2:59, and then 3 a.m. The room went cold. The lights flickered. Jacob and Marcus both turned toward the kitchen. The phone was ringing. Jacob looked at Marcus. "You hear that?" Marcus nodded slowly. "Yeah, I do." They walked to the kitchen together. The screen was lit up. "Incoming call." Jacob read. Marcus's face went pale. "Okay, that's not normal." Jacob answered the call. "Hello?" There it was, breathing, just like before. But now Marcus could hear it too. His eyes widened. "That's your voice. Dude, that's you." Jacob's hands trembled. "What do you want?" He whispered into the phone. The breathing stopped. A pause, then a low voice, barely a whisper. "Let me in." Jacob threw the phone onto the counter like it had burned him. The call ended. Marcus stepped back. "We're calling someone, a priest, a medium. I don't care who. This is beyond weird." But Jacob just stood there, staring into the dark hallway. Something had changed. The house didn't feel like his anymore. The next day, Marcus returned with someone he claimed was a friend of his cousin, a woman named Angela, who specialized in spiritual cleansing. Angela was calm, professional, and didn't ask too many questions. "I need to know where the energy is strongest," she said, walking through Jacob's apartment with a small set of chimes and a candle. "Where did the first incident happen?" Jacob pointed to the bedroom. "But the mirror in the bathroom, that's where I saw it smile." Angela paused. "Mirrors are dangerous when they become reflective gateways. They can be used from the other side." Jacob felt cold. "The other side of what?" Angela turned to him. "Of you." She began her cleansing with herbs, murmuring a prayer under her breath. The candle flickered violently when she stepped near the mirror. She placed her hand on the glass and immediately pulled away. "It's not just watching you," she whispered. "It's mimicking." Jacob swallowed. "Why?" Angela stared at the mirror. "Because it wants to replace you." Jacob sat at the edge of his bed, his eyes locked on the mirror in the bathroom. He hadn't moved in over 10 minutes. Angela's words kept echoing in his mind. "It wants to replace you." The phrase chilled him to the bone. He'd always believed mirrors just reflected light, bounced back your image. But now they felt like windows, or worse, doors. Angela walked slowly back into the room, holding a small silver bell in one hand and a thin journal in the other. "Jacob," she said gently, "do you remember anything unusual happening before this all started?" Jacob shook his head. "No, nothing strange. Just a normal week. Work, grocery shopping. I barely go out." Angela nodded. "That's why this thing chose you. It looks for people who are isolated, predictable. The more regular your life is, the easier it is for it to imitate you, slip in unnoticed." Jacob's voice was dry. "How long has it been watching?" Angela looked at the mirror. Her expression darkened. "Longer than you think." Later that night, Marcus stayed over again. He didn't want Jacob going through this alone, and frankly, he didn't want to be alone either. After what he'd heard on the phone, he was a believer now. Angela had placed black cloth over every mirror in the apartment, taped securely with salt-lined edges. "No reflections," she said. "It can't cross without being seen first, and it hates being seen." Jacob stood by the covered bathroom mirror, heart pounding. "What happens if it does get through?" Angela paused. "Then it won't just call you anymore. It'll start to take pieces of you." He didn't ask what that meant. That night, Jacob and Marcus sat silently in the living room, watching the clock. No TV, no music, just the low hum of the refrigerator and their nervous breathing. Angela sat on the floor with her journal, drawing symbols and burning herbs in a small dish. 59. A sharp click echoed from the bathroom. Everyone froze. Angela didn't look up. "Stay calm. It's testing the boundary." Then, 3 a.m., the phone buzzed. Jacob's skin went cold. He looked at the screen. "Incoming call. Jacob Reed." He hesitated, then answered it on speaker. At first, only silence. Then came a sound none of them expected. Laughter. It was Jacob's voice, but twisted, mocking, like an echo trapped in a nightmare. Marcus stepped closer to Angela. "What do we do?" Angela stood slowly, her eyes on the hallway. "It's grown stronger. The mirror was only the beginning. There's something else it's using." The laughter from the phone faded into heavy breathing again. Angela's eyes narrowed. "Where's your childhood mirror, Jacob?" He blinked. "What? Did you bring anything old into this apartment? Something reflective? An heirloom?" Jacob thought for a second. Then it hit him. "The basement storage. There's an antique mirror in a box. It was my grandmother's. I forgot it was even down there." Angela exhaled sharply. "That's it. That's the doorway it's using." Minutes later, all 3 of them stood in the dim, musty basement of the apartment building. Jacob led them to the corner where his storage unit sat. He hadn't opened it in months. As he unlocked the metal door, the scent of old wood and dust drifted out. Boxes stacked high, faded blankets, and there, leaning against the back wall, was a tall mirror covered in a white sheet. Angela stepped forward carefully, lighting a new candle. "Do not remove the cover. Not yet." She circled the mirror slowly, murmuring something in a language neither Jacob nor Marcus recognized. The flame flickered wildly. Suddenly the mirror rattled, not just a shake. It thumped, like something had struck the other side. Jacob stumbled backward. "Did you hear that?" Angela nodded, her voice firm. "It knows we're here." The candle went out. Complete darkness. Marcus fumbled for his phone flashlight, but it wouldn't turn on. Dead screen. Jacob's phone buzzed in his pocket. Incoming. Call. Jacob Reed. He answered instinctively. On the other end, screaming. His own voice. Screaming like he was being dragged into something, echoing as though coming from deep underground. Angela lit a match, reigniting the candle. In that dim light, they all saw it. The sheet had fallen, and the mirror was fogged from the inside. A handprint appeared on the glass, not from the outside. From within, Angela sprang into action. She dropped to her knees and began drawing a protective circle of salt around the mirror, chanting louder now, faster. The handprint moved, dragging slowly across the surface, like something was pacing behind the glass. Marcus was frozen in place. This isn't real. This can't be real. Jacob reached for the mirror instinctively, but Angela shouted, "Don't touch it." Too late. His fingers brushed the edge of the glass. Instantly, his vision went dark. He wasn't in the basement anymore. He was standing in a room that looked exactly like his own, but the lights were flickering, and everything had a gray, lifeless tone. The air was heavy. Wrong. Then he saw it, standing near the covered mirror. Himself. Same face, same clothes, but the thing's eyes were pitch black, and its smile was slow, unnatural. The reflection tilted its head. Then it spoke. "Why fight it? You've already let me in." Jacob took a step back. "You're not real." "I am now," it whispered. "And you're already fading." Darkness closed in again. Jacob gasped as he fell back into his body. Angela had yanked him away from the mirror and was pressing herbs against his forehead. "You were starting to separate," she said breathlessly. "Another minute, and you wouldn't have come back." The mirror now lay on its back, salt lines reinforced all around it. Angela looked at the two men. "It's not over. This entity isn't finished. It wants more than your image, Jacob. It wants your life." Jacob's voice was hoarse. "How do I stop it?" Angela stared at the mirror, eyes burning with the determination. "We seal the door. Forever." The next morning arrived without sunlight. Thick clouds covered the sky, casting a pale gray over everything. Jacob stood by his apartment window, staring out in silence. His reflection barely shimmered on the glass, distorted and weak in the dim light. He hadn't slept. Angela sat cross-legged on the floor, her journal open, papers spread around her like fallen leaves, symbols, diagrams, handwritten notes. It looked more like a map to another world than anything else. Marcus, groggy from the night before, rubbed his temples. "So, this seal thing, what does it actually do?" Angela looked up. "It locks the pathway. Think of the mirror as a door. This seal will close it permanently, but we can't just place it. We have to trap the entity behind it first." Jacob's voice was quiet. "And if it gets out," Angela paused, "then we're no longer dealing with reflections. We're dealing with possession." The room fell into silence. By noon, they'd returned to the basement. This time, they brought everything they needed: candles, salt, silver wire, a bowl of water, and Angela's sealing tools. Jacob stared at the antique mirror lying on its back. still uncovered. It looked ordinary now, just old wood and glass, no movement, no handprints. But he knew better. Angela began the ritual, drawing a large circle around the mirror with the salt and charcoal. Inside it, she marked 7 runes, each one representing a different barrier: sight, sound, thought, presence, memory, reflection, and name. As she worked, she explained, "The entity's strength comes from imitation. It mimics your voice, your habits, your fear. It knows your routine because it's watched for so long. Once we trap it, we erase its hold on your identity." Jacob nodded, though the words made his chest tighten. What if I've already lost pieces of myself? Angela looked at him, her voice steady. "Then we take them back." Once the circle was complete, Angela poured the purified water into a small dish and lit 4 candles at each compass, point around the mirror. Then she handed Jacob a shard of broken mirror glass. "This is your anchor. You'll speak to it. Call it out. Let it come forward, but don't break eye contact. If you look away, it might switch places with you." Jacob's hand trembled slightly as he took the shard. The idea of summoning the very thing that had been stalking him felt insane. But running wasn't an option anymore. He stepped into the circle. At first, nothing happened. The room was silent except for the soft crackle of candle flames. Then, his phone buzzed. PM. Same caller ID, Jacob Reed. He hesitated only a second, then answered. On the other end, silence. Then came his own voice, calm, confident. "Hello, Jacob." He swallowed hard. "I'm here." "I know." The voice smiled through the words. "You've made it easy for me, you know. The loneliness, the routines. You don't really live. You just repeat. A mirror of yourself. Empty." Jacob clenched the mirror shard. "I'm not empty. You don't know me." "Oh," the voice laughed, low and slow. "But I do. Every sigh, every thought, every time you stared at your reflection and hated what you saw. I was watching, waiting." Angela gestured silently from behind the circle. "Keep talking. Draw it in." Jacob gritted his teeth. "You're not me. You're just a shadow." There was a long pause on the line. Then came a whisper, cold as winter. Then, "Let's see who's more real." Suddenly, the mirror shimmered. Like water rippling beneath the glass, the surface moved. And then it appeared. Jacob's double stepped into view, standing inside the mirror. Same clothes, same hair, same tired eyes, but darker. Wrong. Its mouth moved, but no sound came out. Instead, Jacob heard the voice through the phone. "Switch with me. 1 step, that's all. We'll both be free." Angela raised the silver wire, beginning the chant. The mirror creature's smile vanished. It saw her now. It slammed a hand against the glass from inside, hard enough to rattle the frame. The candles flickered. The air turned sharp, like static electricity. Jacob didn't flinch. "I'm not switching. I'm ending this." The creature sneered, eyes blackening. "You're not strong enough." But Jacob remembered something. Angela's words. "It mimics your fear." So he breathed deep and said clearly, "I'm not afraid of you anymore." For a moment, everything froze. Then, screaming, not Jacob's voice this time, but the entity's, furious, distorted, desperate. Angela chanted faster, winding the silver wire into a figure eight and placing it over the water bowl. The reflection inside the mirror thrashed, pounding, cracking the surface from within. Marcus dumped a final ring of salt around the mirror, and Jacob, steady now, held the shard high. "Seal it," he shouted. Angela threw the last pinch of ash onto the circle. The candles flared, the mirror went dark, the phone cut to static, then silence. They didn't speak for a long time. The mirror lay still. No more movement, no more fog. Angela carefully placed a cloth over it again and began securing it with seals and symbols. "It's trapped," she said finally, "but not destroyed. That's not something I can do." "Not yet." Jacob nodded. He looked tired, but lighter, like a weight had been lifted. Marcus finally broke the silence. "So what now? Do we just leave it here?" Angela's eyes were serious. "No, we take it to sacred ground, somewhere it can never be uncovered again." Jacob glanced down at the cloth-covered mirror. He no longer saw himself, just a doorway that had almost claimed his life. That night, Jacob sat alone in his apartment for the first time in days. Every mirror was still covered, but now he didn't feel watched. He stood by the window, looked at the faint outline of himself in the glass. No movement, no calls, just his own breathing and peace. At least, for now, a week had passed. Jacob hadn't received any calls since the ritual. His phone, once a source of dread, now rested silently on his nightstand. The apartment felt different, warmer somehow, like the presence that had clung to every shadow was finally gone. But the quiet didn't bring comfort. Not yet. He still checked the mirrors, still hesitated before looking at his reflection. Angela had taken the sealed mirror to a remote chapel in the countryside, a sacred ground protected by old rites. She said it would be safe there, beyond the reach of curious hands and wandering spirits. Jacob wanted to believe her. On a chilly Sunday morning, he met Angela at a small cafe near the edge of town. She looked exhausted, her eyes framed by dark circles, but there was relief in her posture, like a burden had finally lifted. "I've been researching what happened," she said, sipping her tea. "It's not just your case. There are records going back centuries, different names, different cultures, but always the same story." Jacob leaned forward. "The calls? No. The mirror people." The words sent a chill down his spine. Angela continued. "There are entities that live in reflections, imitators. They don't start dangerous. They observe, copy, learn. But once they know enough about you, they start testing the limits, pushing boundaries." Jacob nodded slowly. "And if you answer back, they get stronger." "Exactly." She lowered her voice. "The call you got, it was an invitation, a challenge, and you responded." Jacob sat in silence, watching the steam rise from his cup. "It's over, though, right?" Angela hesitated. "Yes, but with entities like this, it's not about ending. It's about containment. You survived, Jacob. That's what matters." He gave a faint smile. "I guess that's enough," but part of him wasn't sure. That night, Jacob finally decided to uncover the mirrors. One by one, he peeled back the blankets and towels. In the bathroom, he stared into the glass, just himself. No flickers, no movements, no whispers. He splashed water on his face, took a deep breath, and turned off the light. As he walked away, his phone buzzed. His heart dropped. He turned back and slowly picked it up. Unknown number. He hesitated, but didn't answer. The call ended on its own. He locked the phone and placed it face down. No more invitations. No more fear. 2 days later, Jacob got a package. No return address. Inside was a small envelope and a USB drive. The note read, "You're not the only one. Watch this." Confused, Jacob plugged in the drive. A video played. Grainy security footage, an elevator camera. In it, a man stood alone, checking his phone. Then, without warning, he jerked back, staring at the reflective elevator doors. Behind him, his own reflection moved differently. It smiled. Then the screen cut to black. Another file began to play. A woman, crying, recorded a voice memo. "He sounds just like me, but it's not me. Please, if anyone finds this, don't look at the mirrors. Don't pick up when you see your own number. Please." The audio dissolved into static. Jacob closed the files and stared at the screen. He wasn't alone. That night, he called Angela. "I got something from someone else. They've experienced it too." She sounded unsurprised. "I thought you might. You knew this wasn't just one case. I suspected, but I didn't want to overwhelm you." Jacob leaned back in his chair. "What if it's still spreading?" Angela's voice turned firm. "Then we help stop it. You're not a victim anymore, Jacob. You survived. That makes you stronger than most." He was quiet for a moment. Then, "What do we do?" "We track the signs, the calls, the mirrors. We find people before the entities do, and we contain them." Jacob stared at his darkened window. No reflection stared back this time. A decision settled in his chest. He nodded, more to himself than to her. "Let's do it." Months passed. Jacob's life changed. He worked with Angela now, traveling to places where the veil between reflections and reality had thinned. Abandoned homes with whispering mirrors. Schools where students claimed to see themselves blink out of sync. Hotels where every guest heard footsteps that matched their own. They never destroyed the mirrors, just sealed them. And every time Jacob got a little better at spotting the signs. The flicker, the voice that was just a bit too familiar, the cold chill that came when someone picked up a phone call at 3 a.m. and listened to their own breathing. They called them echoes, the remnants of identity stolen by the reflection. Jacob had learned the truth. The mirror people weren't hunting randomly. They were waiting for the lonely, the broken, the ones who stared too long at who they'd become and wished for something different. The reflections offered that change, but at a cost. One evening, Jacob received a message. A new case, small town, old farmhouse, mirror in the attic. They've already answered the call. He packed his bag, grabbed the salt, the runes, the wire, and before he left, he stood in front of his bedroom mirror. His reflection stared back, worn, weathered, but him. He reached out and touched the glass. Cold, smooth, silent, just as it should be. Epilogue. In a dusty antique shop across the country, A young woman admired a tall, ornate mirror. The shopkeeper smiled. "Beautiful, isn't it?" came from an old chapel out east. She nodded, touching the frame. "It almost feels like it's watching me." She turned away to ask the price. Behind her, the reflection didn't move.